Mikhail Gorbachev, he was the last Soviet leader. He now dies at the age of 91. He is the last leader. Mikhail Gorbachev has now had many leaders around the world who remember his time and what he contributed. Now, he came into power in 1985 and was recognized for opening up the USSR and his reconciliation with the West and his ability to get a lot done that has been part of history. Although he was not able to prevent the country's collapse, the USSR's collapse in 1991, in a hospital, where he died, the staff said that he had suffered from a long and serious illness. He will be remembered. He died at the age of 91. Mikhail Gorbachev was the person who ended the Cold War without bloodshed as a part of his history, but had failed to prevent the collapse of the Soviet Union. He forged agreement with the United States when it comes to the arms reduction deal with the U.S. and partnership with Western nations to remove the Iron Curtain that had divided Europe since the Second World War and to bring about the reunification of the country Germany. And now Gorbachev has had a long history of his involvement in so many, and the history is so long. But to that, the world leaders have put out statements, and to that, President Putin of Russia has expressed his deepest condolence of the death, and this is put out by the Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov on the issue. Putin has now called the collapse of the Soviet Union the greatest geopolitical catastrophe of the 20th century, and in 2018, he says that this war that he's waging is part of reversing it. Other world leaders who have paid tribute to the former Prime Minister, such as former Prime Minister Brian Mulroney, called Gorbachev the exact opposite of Putin. He put out a statement saying that Gorbachev was a visionary who sought peace and greater prosperity for his citizens. Mulroney also wrote that he sought restraint on the exercise of military power, and this is the opposite of what we're witnessing now with this reckless and unacceptable war in Ukraine. Other leaders who paid tribute were European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen, who said that Gorbachev had opened the way for a free Europe. U.S. President Joe Biden also called Gorbachev a man of a remarkable vision and a rare leader who had the imagination to see that a different future was possible and the courage to risk his entire career to achieve it. As a result, a safer world and a greater freedom for millions of people is what Biden had put out in his statement. Prime Minister Boris Johnson of the UK, he said that Gorbachev's tireless commitment to opening up Soviet society remains an example to us all. And this is after decades of the Cold War tensions that brought up the confrontation to a full front, where Gorbachev brought the Soviet Union closer to Western countries than any other point since the Second World War. Now, he was a man who, went through so much, as he also witnessed in the last days of his life, of he's seeing what's been happening to Russia since Putin's invasion of Ukraine and the sanctions that have been piling on. And this was what he saw last in his life and his legacy of what he's been able to do. Now, he's also the leader who's enjoyed a second career after being the leader of the Soviet Union. He became an international pop cultural icon. He also appeared in television advertisements in Western brands. Some, if you recall, the 1998 Pizza Hut ad. This was one of the famous ones where the former president of the USSR walked alongside his granddaughter across Red Square and into a franchise of Pizza Hut. In the ad, the two men at a nearby table were engaged in a debate over Gorbachev's legacy, and they were quickly able to find that there was common ground for American pizza, for Pizza Hut in this commercial that he was in. And there was other commercials as well where he was promoting Austrian Railway. That was one of his different ads on The Simpsons. Images. Gorbachev was even received a Grammy alongside former U.S. He was for retelling the folk of Peter and the Wolf. In 2000, in his ad, a massive deal. So lots to of a man who led a massive legacy.